Hello, and welcome back to the PatricksGreenTea podcast. There's a movie I mentioned wanting to watch in IMAX, and fortunately I was able to. The seats I bought had a buffer of seats around them that no one would be able to buy, and the staff seemed to be very thorough with their cleaning protocol between showings, so I felt very safe. The movie was absolutely insane to watch on such a big screen, too. Even for its flaws, the way the mechanics unfolded on screen were pretty incredible, especially since I shielded myself from any trailers or spoilers, so I had no idea what to expect. That's it, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hello, and welcome back. And this is the Patrick's Green Tea podcast, and I'm Patrick. I've been walking along this river near where I live, and it's big enough to have boats in it. So I'm like looking at them and having a good time, socially distanced. So there's like really nothing wrong with it. It surprisingly doesn't make me want a boat necessarily. It just makes me happy for those people that they're like chilling on such a beautiful day in the water. That's a cool feeling. The only times I've been on a boat since like early childhood were charter boats. None of my friends own boats. I mean, my girlfriend's family does, but there hasn't been an opportunity for us to use it, or for them to use it, I should say, and for them to potentially invite me. But it seems like a good time, I've never gone this far on this trail. I've been here before. I don't even know if the podcast was around when I was there. Maybe it was. It definitely didn't exist like as a podcast yet. It was just recordings, I'm pretty sure. I was here. I think I smoked a full-on bong. Maybe. I was getting into the bong because I just bought it, probably. I think it was then. I don't think it was a bowl. You know what? Actually, it might have been a bowl. I remember balancing it and try not to have the weed fall out. But the bowl or bong got me pretty high, And there's this area where these trails intersect, sort of. I guess that's how it works. And then on the intersection there's like this big patch of ground that was just like removed by the waves and stuff, and it was like a mini landslide. It was pretty big, if you were standing on that when it went, there would be no way you could get up. It was a pretty serious dip, and it went really far down into the water. So that kind of freaked me out, but not like too bad, because I was able to keep far enough footing, because it was a big old cleared out section that I felt fine. And probably by the time you're listening to this, there will be a supplemental on the podcast website. If you just go to supplementals and then or supplements, I should say. I always keep calling it supplementals. It's not a real word. It sounds like it is, but it's not. Anyway, and all the photos and text that I did on the same date as an episode, like a recorded episode, I put all in there. The pictures are just for dates that or photos I should say, are just for dates that I didn't record, and I just had stuff to take a picture of or say, like in writing. But anyway, I'm glad I started doing the podcast. I was kind of anxious about starting for some reason. I mean, not really, but like I kept having this feeling like, I should leave at least 20 minutes for myself to listen to music and stuff, which I usually do. I was getting kind of paranoid about recording it, and I think I didn't want to record it at some point, something like that. But I got through it immediately. It's taken different directions than I thought it would, I should say. Big news. I just released first episode of season 3. So the first episode, The Boat is Loud. The first episode recorded in 2020. So we finally caught up to the year. I forgot what date this podcast launched. It was like late February, early March. But we're catching up to that. I didn't record many episodes when I was in Spain in that part of the year, so I'm hearing the waves. Sounds like branches breaking. So we're gonna catch up to the podcast's I should say, like podcast publication anytime in the next like few weeks. So that's pretty exciting. The loop will be complete, and then I'll feel like, I don't know, I'm actually on a roll here, you know, and I have some momentum, and the podcast is going to be more current, which is everyone's going to love. They won't be that current though. They won't be day of, so I don't really know how that's gonna. There's a strategy where you record it earlier and then just release it with the dates that it's being published as the date. But the thing is, with me, I enjoy the archival part of this, where I record the time and date. There's no real. I noticed that there's no real way for me to record jet skis. There's no real way for me to like say the time that the podcast was recorded without adding more stuff to the title of every episode, and that's too much. It's already kind of cluttered. So I don't know. So that's my technical stuff. Podcast has been dormant for a long time. I haven't really thought about it in a long time, so I'm kind of rusty on everything. But now I see like, oh my god, I left all this stuff for me to finish, you know? I started all these little like, I don't know. I have so many things recorded. I'm like saying like how I have things set up, the passwords for accounts and stuff, and like where we are. So like, for example, we just expanded a bunch. The podcast became like way bigger. It's on Pandora now, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, all this other stuff that I mentioned. I don't know. I mentioned it on the Reddit post, I should say, and my Discord, and the Discord's all in the description. I have links for everything, so that's where you get them. I never really mention them because that takes up too much outro time. Anyway, so I'm just checking the time. Might have to head back soon, just in the general direction. It's going to take a while to get back, but I only budgeted an hour for this, so that's kind of not great. I mean, I could get away with more than an hour, but then I don't even know if I'd be able to stop at home, you know? I don't know, it just got me a little anxious. But I get that way with weed. It's kind of hard to avoid. Everything seems so like dire, you know? And serious. Okay, I'm gonna head back. This is a cool place. It's 6 miles though, the whole loop. I cannot do that. What I would do is walk along the river before it becomes a big old loop and just stop where it turns into the woods and go back. I mean, that distance is super doable. It's probably like 3 miles or so. It's like the hypotenuse of a big triangle. So is a hypotenuse only with right triangles, or like any kind of triangle? I always wondered. I think it's only right triangles. That's a useless fact that'll never help me, but it's fine. I just want to be precise with what I call these things. Precise, not accurate. Or maybe it's accurate, not precise. I don't know. Why am I going back to like high school semantics of scientific and mathematical nomenclature? There's also a bougie ass sentence. That sentence reeked of bourbon and leather. Yeah. Maybe what's the word? Beef jerky as well. So yeah. Podcast is kind of impromptu, although like I kind of wanted all day to record it if I smoked. I didn't know if I was going to smoke at first, and then I sort of decided to squeeze it in because I won't be able to for a while. I don't know if that's an addict thing of me to do, but like when I've got a schedule and it's not just like willy-nilly of like how many days in between, and then I sort of do the math, it's like, I don't know. I enjoy weed too much to be like away from it for too long. It is kind of addiction. Well, I think every stoner, meaning someone who consumes a lot of marijuana, has to reckon with themselves and really decide on what is too much for them. Like what constitutes an addiction. And I don't know what that is for me yet. I sort of I think using it every day is what psychologists, like professional people, say is too much. And anything less frequent than that is like workable, not going to impact your life, especially if you only do it twice a day, or twice each day, I should say. No, I mean once a day, once each day, because it only takes up like an hour or 2 hours of your time, kind of including preparation and like going everywhere to smoke it if you have to do that. But it takes up a lot of your wallet over time, but that really depends on how much you use it. I use it as a very manageable level. I haven't picked up weed in like over a month for sure, maybe 2 months. But I kind of got a lot of different stuff, I got concentrates and shred flour, things like that. So like a whole tour season, just travel would cost a lot less than what I would be paying for it would cost a lot more than what I'd be paying for in weed. There's something else I was going to say earlier. I don't know. It's all kind of a mess. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad I have someone to talk to. It's always nice. Makes the bears less scary. It's a cool ass boat. There's like big metal arms coming out of the middle going back. They're like reinforced arms. I don't know. I think there's lights on them. But I'm just thinking like how practical is that, I mean, there's not many short overhead obstacles on the water. On the open ocean, there's not that many things besides like bridges, But like a medium, I guess I don't even know what medium means. Like a 4-person, 6-person, 8-person boat, 4 to 8 people. That's a weird way of saying it, but that kind of boat is not going to have any sort of problems just going out in the water. However, like problems in terms of stuff hitting the top. But like a cruise ship obviously is going to be a different story. So, how do they get by without modern construction technology? How do they make bridges that could open? Did they have bridges that could open? That's a question I want to know the answer to. Boats are like much bigger than they were, but like they were big not that long ago, like the 20s. Like the Titanic was built in the 20s, and there were no like Navy battleships until, God, I don't know, maybe it was around that time. Anyway, all that time before you had those big ass boats, ships, even before that, like they were pretty big boats to transport a lot of cargo across the ocean. Imagine like a wooden cargo ship with like those, like a sailing ship. I like this tangent a lot. Boats. Yeah, boats are cool. I might want one way later in life, but it's not a big concern of mine. I just need friends with boats, and that's all. It's all taken care of. I don't really have a desire to drive one. I have in Florida. My parents rented a boat to just drive around like the Siesta Key area. And I got to pilot the ship for a little bit. I don't know if that was illegal or that was part of the rent terms, but I was over 18, I'm pretty sure, so I think I was able to do it. It was cool. My dad gave everyone a turn. I don't think my mom really cared though. Take a water break. BRB. I'm back. Before this, before I recorded the podcast, I was listening to a bunch of music. The first song being the Catwoman theme, because I was stuck in my head last night, and it's such an interesting theme that like the naming conventions of the Dark Knight Rises soundtrack are so bad. Like, I don't know what each song is. Like, it's so specific to a line that a character says or something, which is cool if you know the lines, but like Selena Kyle's theme is called Mind If I Cut In or something, and I don't know. He thought that line was more important than I do. Maybe it was, but anyway, it was really good. She has a suite of like 4 different styles of the theme, like getting increasingly more adrenaline filled, high octane, as they say, and just the simple piano of the beginning, and like whatever's in the background, like one kind of violin or string instrument, so it only makes one sort of tone. It's so simple and so cool, you know. I think like when she does things on screen where that theme comes up, it's so like it sticks so much. Yeah, so speaking of Christopher Nolan, I'm considering watching Tenet in IMAX. There's no real reason why not to. It's just that, I mean, there is one where everything's pandemic-y, you know? It's all germy, all the seats and stuff. They have to do a really good job cleaning. I know that I've seen showtimes and stuff around my area, and there's a few theaters that are doing it, but they have 40% capacity in the theater. Only designated seats, so you have to pre-buy, I think. I think you have to reserve wherever you're sitting and just make sure you don't lose your spot or whatever. I would do that. I wouldn't want to end up somewhere random, especially when I'm going with people. The other factor that's contributing against this cause is that I align all my friends' schedules. They probably would like, I don't know. So like my one friend, Brandon, he's just really afraid of the virus thing. He wants the viewership to die down before he like starts watching the movie. So, I mean, that's a theoretically okay idea, but I want to get it over with now so I don't accidentally miss it, you know? Because like missing that opportunity to see it in IMAX would just be so, I don't know. So it would be such a waste. Because I love IMAX, you know? It's kind of a little too big, but when you're far back enough, it's like, it's amazing. There's one at an aquarium near me, or not near me, but it exists. And they usually do like sea type shows during the aquarium's hours, but after hours they show movies. I don't know if they're still in that business because theaters all shut down mainly, but I hope for them to be open. I mean, the ones I saw near me that are open, I don't think are any aquariums. But anyway, I go off of random little tangents trying to explain everything I'm saying. It's funny. Also, I don't know if you could hear it, but I keep accidentally tugging the earbud in my ear and making kind of a loud, rubbery, like, thunk, you know. You're probably picking it up. That's what that is. So, I apologize sincerely. Or as some would say, I apologize severely. It's so quiet. It was cool today yesterday listening to the podcast from February 4th, the first one of 2020. And hearing the Spanish in the background. I took that for granted. That was such a weird thing. But pretty much everyone was speaking Spanish around me. Occasionally, like every few nights of going to the same class, you'll catch one English conversation, but it's mainly Spanish city, which is crazy. They're like white Mexicans, However you want to digest that, process that. Not in a negative way, obviously. There's nothing negative attached to that description. So anyway, that, but except white and like from Europe. Like, they all speak Spanish. They came from Spain originally. Like, they're not different. I don't know. I don't really know. I know one Mexican kid he's not a kid anymore, he's my age, from high school, Andres. And he was awesome. But he was like the only Mexican person I met another Mexican person, now I think about it. The bud tender at the weed club. I don't know if I mentioned in later episodes or not, but his name was Alex, and he was the best, from Mexico. Such a cool guy. But like, he was white too. So like, both my friends are sort of like, I'm just a little darker, but like barely, So I'm thinking like, everyone's perception of Mexican, like the stereotypical one I should say, is like mariachi band, big mustaches, and like darker skin. But really they're like, not that different from white people. I don't know why there's this animosity. That's what I'm trying to say. This long, jumbled rant. I would love more Mexican and Spanish friends. I had a Spanish friend earlier in my life. Then he moved to Salt Lake City because he was a Mormon. So his whole family went there. He's been there ever since. I hope he's doing well. Anyway. Oh, another big thing that I should mention on the podcast. I've been sort of thinking a lot more about van living and like, I don't know if this is the correct term, but tramping. Just like going around the country in a mobile unit, whether it be a tent or a trailer. You know what? A trailer would actually be pretty nice. Or like a truck with a... Oh my god, yeah, I completely forgot about that. Even maybe vans might be too big. I might move up to a van once I more permanently move into that. I think it'd be good to do a trial run with a truck though, with like a mini home and its bed, with the door in the back. There's like a bed, there's like whatever else you want to be in there. Maybe a computer, like a laptop, guitar, dog if you have one. I don't think that's legal to have them ride in while you're, the dog would stay in the front while you're driving, of course. But in the back you can keep all this shit and have this your whole life behind you. And I saw a few of those. I saw a really, really cool one in Colorado. I took a picture, I think, but I don't remember where it is. It was at some like park or like monument. Not a monument. It was at some big place. And I keep looking around. There's weird noises going on. This might break my ankle, but hopefully not. It's like a gorge. At the bottom of the gorge, I should say, was a bench and a fire pit, which is cool. That's where I started recording, walking out of there. But the way up and down is kind of treacherous. I'm not doing this yet. I'm going around town. It won't let me see the lake anymore, but maybe that's a good thing. Bye lake, river. But back to what I was saying about the van life thing. I've always been intrigued by that. One time on vacation, also in Florida, my family goes to Florida a lot. I saw like a VW, like Volkswagen van. I was like, oh my god. And I think they're too impractical to drive around. I wouldn't trust that, with my life and all my shit. But it was there, and it just sparked this idea in my head of like, I've heard this before, the van life thing. I've kind of like been subconsciously obsessed with it, like just like following all these pages and stuff and reading up all about it, how they actually do it. And then just seeing that VW van, it like lit the fire in me that like I knew it wouldn't go out. It was like a determined like, I want this in my life, and nothing's gonna stop me because I see it as achievable, you know, which it was cool. But I lost that fire when I was, you know, back against the wall trying to like last minute look up apartments in New York to stay in for school. And that was no bueno. Shit. Let me just see if I missed a call. No, I think it would have just stopped if I missed a call. I would have heard it actually. I don't know. It's probably 4. I got 15 minutes on the clock left, but Mom's already asking if I'm home. It's so annoying. I want to keep on this van life topic though. I don't know what else is there to tell. This part also goes along the river that I'm walking on right now, so I don't know how it connects, but whatever. I want a van, but like the idea of one, like a mobile house. But I don't want a van per se. I think truck is the way to go. I want to be able to go on like rugged terrain and shit, you know? Not worry about clearance in my car, because a lot of camping is like dependent on getting to the site. I was in a very, very mild terrain where I was in Colorado. The furthest west I went, you know, and into the Native American something reserve, like forest, national forest, I think it's called. Either way, it's like that wasn't that wild. Like California, there's just like swaths of land, like Joshua Tree. I don't know if you're allowed to camp there, but places like that, just like giant, like you can dirt bike or fly for miles and not see any sort of civilization, which is awesome. And the Pacific Northwest too has that. I think Western Colorado also has that, because I didn't see much cities down there. The highways make like a cross, an oblong cross towards the top right corner of Colorado, the state, and I don't know. I'm by the landslided area, so spooky. But anyway, Colorado's cool. So there might be more land that I didn't get to explore because I was staying close to the highways. But what a beautiful state, man. I miss it. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't record that much about it. Like I went through 2019 in my editing, and just like the Colorado trip was like 2 episodes or something crazy when I was there for a whole month. I wish I recorded more. And then Spain was only like 3 episodes, you know, total. I really haven't been recording that much though. That's the thing. I've been sort of living, and I don't even realize that I'm in such a cool situation. I remember being in Spain and thinking that I only had an hour twice a week basically to smoke. Everything else was like I'm buried in assignments. And reading especially. Oh my god, the reading. Some of them were interesting, which is good, especially in the Civil War class. But eventually, after I got the point of the Civil War class, I ended up, what am I trying to say? I ended up like not being engaged because I wasn't learning anything new, like that was very substantial. It was just a bunch of retreading and philosophical talking about the Civil War and what it means and like all these things, but which is good. But it was just like it's way too academic for me. I like the history part and like the science part, like the forensics and everything. Was just trying to find family members' remains based on like local knowledge. It was wild. So I like that class, and I wrote a bomb-ass paper about it, about the Civil War, and about monuments and street names. And I think both of those, especially monuments, is relevant today, of like their history and like what people do with them. I was trying to bring it to an American perspective. My teacher said to focus it on Spain, but I think it would have been cool. I mean, it was good to do only Spain and try to really delve myself into what the Spanish perspective is. But America has, like, my country, you know, actively tearing down statues of people like George Washington for no discernible reason other than they think that he's racist or owned slaves. But I hear Thomas Jefferson owning them, which is one thing, but George Washington did not. And he's like an American hero, you know. That must look so fucking grotesque to like the far right, authoritarian right America, seeing like their hero being torn down. It's literally probably similar to the October Revolution. Is that what it was called? The Russian one? One of those months. Yeah, it's scary. But it's like I wanted to be able to look into that a little bit too. But really, I was only thinking of Confederate war memorials. It would have been like totally different if I saw that people are tearing down, like, not just Christopher Columbus, but George Washington. Like, that says like so much about what their cause. They're not guided by principles and stuff. They're just guided by like hate and like revenge, you know. Like reparations, like that is a good mindset, but instead of helping the disadvantaged side, you're hurting the advantaged side. And that's not good for the welfare of society where both of those people exist, you know? I just happen to be more advantaged based on the color of my skin, you know? I didn't like choose for that to happen. Like, no one can. So that because of that fact, we should be tolerant and like think equally about each other, because we were given the equal odds of being whatever we were going to be, starting out that way, you know, with all the mental conditions, physical conditions, everything. It was totally a random roll of the dice. But now you have to, like, I don't know, like, live into those. Live into that existence, I guess. I kind of have to go home. Not super soon, but like, you know, can't take too long. I can, you know, whatever. I have a little bit longer. So I'm going to be with you guys for a little longer. I like literally just, it was this podcast that reminded me of the pickup truck type idea. To get a good one with good tires, with as good gas mileage as I can get, but you know, you can't really, it's hard to get. Maybe if I got a car, I don't know. I think the flatbed thing is more compact, it's easier to drive, you don't need an extra license. So, yeah, as long as it's not old and shitty, if it's a decent truck, you know. I feel like you have to have the thing for a few months, at least, like 6 months, a year, to really see all the problems with it. That's one thing about getting a new vehicle. They're playing loud music. Anyway, a car, probably better mileage, but you can fit less. It's not like a whole house. You can, in like a big Chevrolet or something, whatever they're called. Sorry, so many noises. if you get a big car, like a Uber XL, that kind of car, that would be okay. But truck gives you the ability to go off-road easier because it's more built for hard situations like that. Just the idea that there is land that's too rugged for my car is such like an invitation, an invitation to like adventure, basically. Adventure. Yeah. I've been thinking kind of adventurously the past 2 days. My first day of school was rough. It went from 10 to 9, or like 8:45, somewhere around 8, because the professor said that he's usually gonna end the class early, unless he's on the big lecture. So that was good, but my other class is supposed to start at 9, not 10, so Wednesday was just an exception. That was kind of rough. I was exhausted by the end of it. I was exhausted by the middle of it, to be honest. But anyway, it's like trying to record in New York. Not as bad. I get quiet moments. In New York, you don't. But anyway. Truck. I have to like really crunch the numbers as to like what's the best. Crunch numbers and like probability of risk. Like a bus, it's hard to turn around, it's hard to reverse, it's hard to park. Those are big things. If that's what your house is on, and you need all the options you can get about like parking, especially, and also the lower risk of hitting stuff. Because you don't want anything to hit you, and you don't want to hit anyone. That's hard to say. I don't know. I'm kind of dreading going back home, to be honest. I don't want to be grilled. Usually after work I go straight home, but today I didn't. I could just say I got a sandwich or something somewhere. Yeah. Closing thoughts. This was a good podcast. This was a really good podcast. I'm happy with this one. I think if I had a straight joint, it would be too much. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe my tolerance is kind of low. I could do a good podcast on a full joint. I don't know. I don't know what I'm really trying to say. The main thing is, I'm trying to get a guest on. He offered to do a podcast with me about like getting the same strain of weed. I think I talked about this before on the show. Same strain of weed and the same. That's it. And then we call each other and smoke, and then we record it. But the problem is that we got all the way up to buying the weed, and I messaged him about his availability. He told me his availability, so I went out and waited and never got a call or a response or anything, so that's kind of on hold. I'm a little peeved, not gonna lie, because I really wanted to be on the podcast, and I don't like waiting for someone in the woods, and planning this whole thing just to have them never respond. So I'm in the parking lot now. I don't mean any vitriol towards this guy. It's just, I don't know. I'm not like super happy about the way things are with the state of that episode. But anyway, it's been dark for a while. It's been dark. I don't know if there's a cloud or if there's a mountain in the way. But anyway, this walk was successful. I now have to look and act sober enough to not get in trouble. That's life, children. The weird effect is happening again where I'm looking at a tree and like a bunch of trees, and the tops and bottoms are shrinking towards the middle repeatedly, like some weird optical illusion. Anyway, peace out, my homies, my greenies. See you next time.
Hello. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can find me at PatricksGreenTea on Patreon, Discord, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, and Bandcamp, Patrick's Green Tea Podcast on Instagram, and Patrick Green Tea without an S on Twitter. The show is available wherever you get your podcasts. Supplemental materials like photos and text are available on our website, PatricksGreenTea.com. You can join our subreddit at r/PatricksGreenTea. You can make comments on YouTube and on the website, and you can contact me directly at patricksgreentea@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave a review of the show on your favorite podcasting platform. It really helps us out. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.